everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Dori, I'm a teacher of English, and today we're going to talk about IELTS speaking part 3. I'm going to give you some basic information, what you should expect in this part and what you are expected to do. Also, I'm going to give you some example questions that you might be asked in this part. So, in part 3, the examiner is going to ask you some questions related to the topic in task 2. But these questions are going to be a little bit more abstract, a little bit more general and more broad. This section requires you not only to be able to talk about broader ideas, but also to be able to analyze them and discuss about them in depth. It is going to be a discussion between you and the examiner that is going to last for about 4 to 5 minutes. During this conversation that you're going to have, the examiner wants to see that you can fluently express your ideas and that you can justify them by using reasons and examples. Since this part is a little bit more demanding than previous parts, then you should be able to use a variety of vocabulary and linking phrases that they're going to help you very, very much while you answer all these questions. So let's have a look at some example questions.
Okay, let's take as an example a task 2 topic. Let's take another example of other videos. Let's read it very quickly. Describe a book that you read recently. You should say what the book is about, what you liked or disliked about it, would you recommend it to anyone else, and what kind of person would that be. Okay, so in part 3, you're going to be asked questions that are related to books and reading, obviously, but more general kind of questions. These questions could fall into certain categories. For example, let's see. First of all, you could be asked questions that ask for your opinion or preferences. Let's read some example questions. Do you generally read a lot of books or do you prefer watching TV? What kind of books are considered good reads in your opinion? Do you think that people read nowadays as they did in the past? Do you regard famous writers as good role models? If a movie is based on a book, would you prefer to read the book or to watch the film? As you can see, all these questions are pretty general and they ask for your own personal opinion. Please keep in mind that even if they don't ask you, always add a why in the end of the question. You should always state the reason why you believe so and so, okay? So let's move on to the next category. Questions that ask you about hypothetical situations or results of something. So let's see. If you were a writer, what kind of books would you write? Are there any books that you've read in the past that have influenced you in any way? If you could influence or had the power to change the world with your writings, what would you want to change? These are all very hypothetical questions focusing on the future or maybe to things that may never happen. But again, you should be able to answer all these kind of questions. Let's see some other questions that you could be asked in part 3. Questions that ask you about the cause or the reason for something. For example, in this case in relation to reading and books, why do you think so many people read on tablets nowadays? Or why do some people prefer tablets to traditional books? As you can see, all these questions are more general and also are questions that you could be given in a writing task 2. So the more vocabulary you know, the more ideas you have, the better you're going to be prepared in part 3. Just remember that part 3 is going to be related to task 2, to part 2 speaking in a more general and abstract way. These questions, of course, are just examples, but the categories will be more or less the same.
These are some example questions that you could be asked in part 3, and as you can see, they are more abstract, general and based on broader ideas than the previous parts. Alright, of course the examiner is not going to ask you all these questions. These are just examples. You should expect to be asked are about 6 questions in this part of increasing difficulty, which means that the last question is going to be a little bit more demanding than the first one. Please note, do not try to memorize answers by heart. The examiners can easily understand that, and this will definitely count against your score. The best thing you can do is to practice and practice and practice answering all these questions again and again, and gradually you will improve. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope it helps. If this is your first time here, I would like to see you subscribe for more videos related to English. If you have any questions or comments, you can ask me here or on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and of course my website. All links are down below. Thank you very much for watching again. Take care. Bye-bye.